The past year and almost year and a half has been a complete mess, but one thing has always been there for us, and it's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. It's hard to believe, but last week the game officially turned 1 year old. So now that we've all spent an entire trip around the sun with these games, how do they hold up? Rather than do a long, in-depth review, today I'm just going to take some time to briefly talk about my experience on my island, and whether or not that experience has held up for almost an entire year. So if you've seen my past videos on Animal Crossing on this channel, you know that I think these games perfectly encapsulated a relaxing atmosphere in its simplistic gameplay, something that was well suited for an absolute perfect release. Obviously the games came out at the perfect time when the pandemic started. A lot of other YouTubers, reviewers, and everyday internet users have touched on that a million times. Between April and July of last year, the early months of the pandemic, there was a panic scramble for normalcy. Our everyday interactions were stripped from us abruptly. We lost routines at school, work, travel, and way more. We were told to stay inside. I would say that around this time, Animal Crossing served as the perfect way to remedy that anxiety that we all felt. I remember being able to boot up the game and not be reminded of the iconography of the virus. No masks, no distance, no hand sanitizer. If I wanted to throw a party with a raccoon, I could do that. I think the games will always have a special place in my heart for that reason. But in the past few months, my attitude has shifted towards this game. In the beginning, like I said, I used it as a coping mechanism for what I lost, and I used it in much more social ways. I visited my friends' islands almost every single day. I would terraform for hours on end to accommodate dozens of new villagers who would come and go, and I would take on really ambitious projects like gardens, cafes, and baseball fields that took up hours of my real-life time. In other words, I played the f*** out of this game. What else did I have to lose? It's not like I had anything else to do. But since then, I slowed down my playtime a lot. By September 2020, I would hardly ever go on this game. I had other distractions after a very slow summer, and things have only ramped up since then. So I initially viewed this whole lack of playing time as a failure on the part of the game. Maybe it was too simplistic to retain my attention for more than the 4 months it did, or maybe it was a failure on my part as a gamer, for not finding enough projects to sustain my long-term gameplay. I felt like I had reached a ceiling with all the redecorating, socialization with my villagers, and visiting my friends' islands. But in the past few weeks before I made this video you're watching now, I actually found myself getting back into the game. And not in an obsessive way like I did before. I didn't spend hours on the Animal Crossing subreddit looking for build ideas, or constantly comparing my island to other ones. I didn't even rely on the social aspect, since most of my friends have stopped playing the game routinely as well. Instead, I found myself mellowing out and being fine playing the game for a few minutes a day, booting up my Switch just to check on one or two things, and closing the system for the night. Whether or not that's the intended way to play the game is up to interpretation. And I actually touched on that in another video I made almost 10 months ago. And that's not the point of this video. What I'm saying is, I think I figured out why I started to play Animal Crossing New Horizons like this, compared to my playstyle over summer. It's because now that things are going back to normal, I almost feel like the grass is greener on the other side. For months I waited and waited for life to return, and I even used Animal Crossing in an obsessive way to satiate that desire. But now that things are actually coming back, I'm a little apprehensive. Nervous even. I realize that although in a few months or years I'll have completely forgotten what it's like to live in the pandemic world, but for now my brain is trying to latch on to the simplicity that this lifestyle provides. The days blend together, I can stay home most of the time, and I can focus on more insular introspective activities and chores that develop into a comforting routine. The same can definitely be said of Animal Crossing's gameplay, which I guess is why I'm finally starting to enjoy the game in a much more relaxed way than I did when it came out. These days I'm perfectly content going on just to talk to my villagers, do a few daily chores, and maybe just change my outfit, and that's it. I guess I'm using it to look for simplicity. It's a way to plant my feet and stop moving, just as the real world is finally ready to keep on turning. What I'm trying to say is, Animal Crossing New Horizons is a really special game to me still. It really helped me out when I needed it the most in two very distinct ways, both then and now. It appeased my anxieties initially, my fears about my comfort level when everything I was familiar with was stripped away abruptly, and then, in the past few months, my fears about the new comforts I found in a more simplistic, introverted lifestyle having to go away. So, no matter how life does change, and whether or not I'll play Animal Crossing for days on end, or I'll just check in once every few months, I know that I'll always view this game in a way that I view no other piece of media. So if you're asking for a straightforward review or critique on this game after a whole year of it being out, I would still rate it very highly. Thanks for watching this shorter and more introspective Tam Valley video. I have bigger, more exciting videos planned in the next few weeks, beginning with a big tier list of every Marvel Cinematic Universe movie 2 weeks from today. And over summer, I'm going to be continuing the California region, so stay tuned for more art and new videos on that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time for more content.